welcome back to the How I Got Greenlit podcast. We are a podcast where we talk about movies, the talkies, the picture shows. I am Sam, and I am joined by my co-host, writer, creator, director, Alex Keledjian. Alex, how are you today?
I'm well, thank you. I'm well. I'm worried that we're coming loaded, loaded for bear today.
Yeah,
and I think we had said this week that actually we said way back when we started, you and I, that we wanted to make sure that we were going to find the best in movies or the find a positive spin on things. So I hope we do that today. I'll just leave it at that.
All right. So guys, Alex is right. When we were planning the version of this podcast, because obviously this podcast has existed for a while, Alex said, he didn't want us to be the typical geek movie reviewers who just complain about what's wrong with movies. And up until today, I think we've done a pretty good job about that. But today we are reviewing Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein.
I am close, closer than ever before, to achieve what no man has.
Victor, maybe it's time to let this go.
What manner of creature is that? What manner of devil made it? I did.
Victor, you're not creating life. You're inviting death into our world.
It's beautiful.
You made me Victor and cast me into the dark. This is the future. I will find you. He is coming for me to destroy everything I build. Victor! Run.
Now, what I got to say about Frankenstein, for starters, is that I'm an enormous fan of the novel. I read it in college, actually, for a class about 19th century British history. And the professor had like a really great take on the novel. I don't want to get too deep into it, but I really view the novel as a masterpiece. I don't see it like how Bram Stoker's Dracula is written. Like, Bram Stoker's Dracula, honestly, is kind of a piece of pulpy nonsense. It's not like a super great masterpiece of literature, but Mary Shelley's Frankenstein is. So I hold that novel in like really high regard. And I'm just going to be flat out. Whenever I don't like a movie, Alex, I will typically say, it's not for me. I don't want to get in arguments with people. When your friends and family know you love movies, they'll generally ask you, hey, what'd you think about that movie? And you can tell it's a movie that they love, and you don't want to crap all over it.
No.
Every few years, a movie will come out that will offend me to my bones, to my very core. The last one I could remember was The Devil Wears Prada. I very genuinely hate that movie because I think its message is you can be an absolute scumbag as long as you're a white woman chasing her dreams. I think that movie excuses some of the worst behavior in people.
Okay.
But that's how I feel about Frankenstein, Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein. I deeply, deeply dislike this movie. And not because I just think it's not good, but because I think it's a fundamental misunderstanding of the text. And I also think that there's such an ego trip in this movie where I know I'm ranting. I'm doing a Sam Levine rant right now.
Yeah, that's cool.
But I know that Guillermo del Toro loves Mary Shelley. He holds her in high regard. But when I see this movie, all I see is a guy who is saying to himself, I can improve upon her novel. Wait till you see my version of it, right?
Right.
And his version gets everything wrong. It gets it wrong stylistically. It gets it wrong thematically. It makes up a bunch of stuff. I mean, it's kind of like, people hated Peter Jackson's The Hobbit trilogy for very legitimate reasons, which was all the stuff he fluffed into it. I actually just said all the fluffy stuffed into it. And yeah, I think this does a lot of that. But before I go further, because I could probably do a solo podcast venting my deep hatred for this film. Alex, what was your take on it?
I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. I tend to, I hate to be self-referential, but I created Project Greenlight a long time ago.
You got you to say it. I'm so happy.
I saw a lot of waste, and there's always been a lot of waste in traditional Hollywood, and there's just I guess it's human mentality where if someone has some success, the studios all tend to jump on that same person or small group of successful people and give them all the money, right? So, like look at J.J. Abrams, say 10 years ago, right? Like, they're all just like, he's solved the equation of how to make a film or TV show. Let's give him all the film and all the TV shows. I think it was a bit much to give Star Trek and Star Wars to the same individual. And we see how that turned out. In this case, I like Del Toro. I never loved Del Toro. And I know that he made a ginormous overall deal with Netflix, which is part of that same human condition where the moneyed interests just go to 50 names that we've all heard of and just say, here's all the money. And just once in a while, I don't know. I didn't want to look up the budget for this because I don't want film conversation to be about box office or budget. I want it to be about story, mise-en-scène, emotional resonance, whatever. But I did see that the lavishness of the production, some of which I really enjoyed, but was so overblown and unnecessary at certain points that I felt like maybe 5 or 10 filmmakers could have divided the, let's say, conservatively $250 million pie here. And at least one of them would have made a masterpiece. This is not a masterpiece.
No, and I think what's worse about it is that it's striving to be a masterpiece.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's going for it. Mm-hmm. And I like when people go for it. I like music that's overblown. I like films that are overstuffed. It's like if I don't perceive that the filmmaker is stretching everything to its limits, then why get out of bed?
Yeah.
So I'll give him that.
I want to start with some of my critiques of this movie. I'm going to start on the surface level. Just the way it looks. Frankenstein is it's funny too. Frankenstein is a very gray novel. It's a very gray period. It's a very gray setting. It's not a romantic, lush setting. And I just didn't understand Del Toro's use of crimson, of red. I mean, he made a movie called Crimson Peak, and the color theme of that film was crimson. Right. It had no place in this movie. The Del Toro touch, the Del Toro visual style is completely at odds with the material. The movie also looks terrible. It looks like The Hobbit. There is so much correlation to The Hobbit. It's got this weird glimmer, this sheen. I love celluloid. I love film. I go back. I look for movies. I give movies I may not have liked in the past a pass when they're just on 35 millimeter. Like, it does a lot for me. I really could not stand the way this movie looked. I thought he was so concerned with the visual style. I just think that, and I'm not a fan of his. I never have been. There's not a single one of his movies that I greatly enjoy. I kind of see him as an annoying kid in high school with like a very strong sense of personal style that I'm just like, man, like nobody cares about your personal style. There's just stylistically, I think I may have texted this to you and I may not have, but I believe that Del Toro would have been better suited to direct Dracula. And I think that Dave Eggers would have been better suited to direct Frankenstein. I think that, I didn't love Nosferatu, even though I really like Dave Eggers. I think Dave Eggers is a smarter, sort of better version of Del Toro. I think there's more behind the style with Dave Eggers. Yeah. But I thought his cold, gray Nosferatu, it didn't really do much for me. And I love all his previous movies, The Northman included. I love The Northman.
Yeah, I love The Northman, yeah.
Awesome.
Great.
I'm glad we agree on that.
Yeah.
But stylistically, man, this film, I just don't think it's so funny because Del Toro loves Frankenstein, and it's like he loves something, in my opinion, he so fundamentally misunderstands. Alex, what did you think of just like the way the movie looked?
I think I also had that like Nosferatu 2 kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Like it's very much cut from the same cloth. My first note is not specific to this film. Please, can we have a moratorium on remakes and reboots? Like there, I said it.
Oh, interesting.
Like I think we've seen this literal Frankenstein, the character, the book, the whatever. I know Del Toro has untold props from the films, etc. Just make your own. Just call it Schmank and Schmime, and it's in an alternate universe, and some elements are the basic theme of.
Isn't that happening right now with Christian Bale?
I please don't make me talk about that trailer.
I'm just saying, isn't that what that is, though?
I just, and by the way, the budget of that will astonish you. But
okay.
So yeah, I'm just saying, if I had a great class at NYU Film School. The guy handed out it was like mimeograph. That's how old I am, but also it was an old thing that he had used for like 30 years of classes. It was the purple mimeograph sheets, and it was, here's the 50 stories. And he said, look through them. You will never make one that doesn't slot into these, but that's okay. And he was right. I think I still have it somewhere in a file. But and it was Frankenstein. And he said, any story in which someone invents something that then turns against them and teaches us an idea about, man should be careful about meddling with forces beyond his control. Cha, cha, cha. In fact, you could argue Tron is a Frankenstein story, but look at how different that is, right? Look at how original. You could say, oh, well, it's an unoriginal idea, someone making an invention that ends up like killing them or taking away their whatever. But just don't do it. Don't do Dracula. Don't do Nosferatu. Don't do Frankenstein. Do Near Dark. That's a new take on a vampire movie. Do something about AI. That's a Frankenstein-like, invention. I just I wish that with the power that either a star or a star filmmaker has to determine their own destiny, that they didn't say, you know what I really want to do with $300 million in the 21st century? Retell a story that's been told on film, let's say 50 to 100 times.
Yeah. And I think, you really sort of nailed it on the head, which is Netflix is clearly trying to attract star filmmakers, right? They want guys.
With their mega deals, mega deals.
Yes, absolutely. They want guys who will raise their profile as a movie studio. And, this movie could be subtitled Revenge of the Nerd, because you're giving this powerful filmmaker unlimited freedom, right? Unlimited budget, like anything you want to make, and here's the money. And he's thinking to himself, finally, I can make the movie I've always wanted to make. And Alex,
Frankenstein.
I'm not a director. Okay, I'm not a director. I'm not even a failed director because I never tried to be. I failed at even attempting it. What I want to ask you, is it a good idea to make the movie you always wanted to make? Like, I just think in some ways this movie is such an ego trip. It's got so much of himself in it.
Well, stop right there.
Yeah, please.
Every film should be an ego trip of the director, and every film should have a lot of the director in it, I think.
Okay. In
my opinion. So I think that's a double. I know what you're saying specific to this. I would argue that is exactly what you want. That's why I like Hitchcock or De Palma, because clearly they're dealing with their own psychodrama in thinly veiled archetypical fashion, right? I think that's important. I think that I was trying to discuss this film with somebody, and I said, I've never disliked Del Toro, but I'll be honest, I can't really think of a movie that he made that like belongs in the vault. And she said Hellboy, and I said, I liked Hellboy, but why doesn't the director of Blade deserve this sort of brand name as filmmaker for our time that Del Toro has seemed to adopt? It's almost like, and at the risk of sounding meta and self mocking, just because you put a little lower third graphic that says Guillermo del Toro filmmaker on it, it doesn't mean you speak for us. It doesn't mean, you speak for all filmmakers. It doesn't mean you're a great filmmaker. I think he's an adequate technician. And I think he has some stuff on his mind thematically, but I am starting to feel like his films are homework.
Yeah.
And,
totally.
I don't want to do it anymore. I don't have enough time on earth. And I look, it's a bad time. It's a dark time in the Republic. And in my business, it's awful. And I'm bitching to my producer about this one project. And he goes, get in line. This is the 7th phone call today of people bitching. He's like, no one's doing well. And I'm like, I guess Del Toro's doing well.
Yeah.
And I see what the outcome is, and I go, I mean, look, to address your issue, and that's what I'm saying, is like, I didn't want to do this to be the bitch fest.
Yeah.
Okay. And so I will say this. The sets were beautiful. The costumes were gorgeous. The makeup was great. I liked the creature design. I thought Elordi did a good job, which I was sure he wouldn't.
Yeah, can we just say something I never thought I'd ever utter in my mouth? Jacob Elordi outacted Oscar Isaac. I love Oscar Isaac. Hated him. I love Oscar Isaac. I hated him in this movie. He's a guy I have been watching from very early on. Very early on, before Star Wars.
He was in Drive.
Yes,
I remember, like, who is this guy? I've never seen him before. He's holding his own against these great actors that we know. Who the hell is this guy?
Yeah, totally agree.
And he never went away since then,
dude. And we owe Elordi an apology, by the way, because we trashed him in the Caught Stealing episode about how, they're trying to force Austin Butler down our throat. Yeah, and we like Austin Butler, but we don't like Jacob Elordi. Elordi was one of the few bright spots of this movie for me. Very much so, and it wasn't the makeup. He was acting. I felt it. It was good. He was hurt. He was in pain. Like, he did it. Didn't feel like a heartthrob who was trying to prove himself. Like, so there's the thing. No, so I think when you get your first like big hit, they take you in a dark room and Johnny Depp comes in and he says, listen, you're pretty. I was pretty once too. Here's what you got to do. Whenever possible, you need to cover the pretty. You need to beat up the pretty. You need to smear the pretty. You need to go away from the pretty because you'll be pretty at the premiere and you'll give them the pretty. But on screen, I want some scissor hands. Yeah. I want some Jack Sparrow. I want you to hide it. I want a limp. I want a gimp. I want a hump. Whatever it is. Yeah. And that's the lesson that he has. And it by the way, it works, I think it's working for this kid. The other thing is it made me remember that I thought he was excellent in Saltburn because, he reminds me of that tale that it was Mike Nichols told about the making of The Graduate. Okay, the studio wanted a bigger star, and the emergent star of that time of The Graduate, or the making of The Graduate, late 60s, the studio said, well, go get this kid, Robert Redford. He's great. And he said, I don't want him. He's too pretty. Ben Braddock needs to struggle. He's our guy. He's an audience surrogate. He's not a golden boy. It's not written like that. And, just please. And they're like, meet with him. He's like, okay. So he sits down and he meets with him and he goes, so you read the script? He's like, yeah, it's great. He said, so do you kind of relate to this feeling of when you're like young and awkward and
you can't really get girls to talk to you, and you're kind of unsure of your place in the world. And he's like, what do you mean? Girls don't want to talk to you? And Nichols realized like Redford's never had to earn a meal in his life.
Yeah.
And so Elordi, to me, the energy that he puts off is, and because, like online, the whole joke is like, what do you want in a guy? Tall. Mm-hmm. What else? Tall. And what else? Tall. Mm-hmm. That sort of joke, right? Mm-hmm. And men are like, well, I can't be tall. I'm 5'7" or whatever. And then and they go, well, what do you want in a woman? And they're like, skinny. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And they're like, a woman can lose weight. Like, it's a big problem in, online debate. So Jacob Elordi looks like that tall guy because he's also a good looking kid. He's a tall, slim.
He looks better as the creature than I do as me.
Right. Exactly. His ugliness. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So he's the guy who just leans up against the wall and girls come up and like, say, marry me. There's no like, my kid called me the other day. He's like, how do you ask out a girl you don't know?
Oh,
and I'm like thinking like Jacob Elordi never called his dad and said that. Right. He's like, Dad, how do you get these women to stop like banging on your dorm room door to come and sleep with you? Like, he's never had to earn a meal in his life. So in Saltburn, he plays himself. And there's a thing about casting where, they say it's 99% casting. Directors always like fight for how many percent it really is just casting. But it's not just the look. You're literally trying to find that person that is that person, and that's why actors are fascinating creatures, because they are sort of like these balls of clay, like they're not quite fully formed. I think if they were fully formed, they wouldn't be actors. They're trying to complete their sentence in the role. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I thought he was good in this. I thought he was good in Saltburn because he was essentially playing himself. I'll be interested to see what he can do next. I saw a big poster. I was driving by Warner Brothers last night, and I saw a huge Wuthering Heights poster. So we'll see if that role will work for him. And it's with the Saltburn filmmaker, Emerald Fennell, I think. Yeah. So, I'm kind of pleasantly surprised by him. Now, Oscar Isaac, mixed. I give it a mixed. And I'll tell you why. Here's why. He was directed big. Okay. So the filmmaker, because we've seen him do big and small, right? Yes. So when I always
he's one of the best actors.
He's one of the best actors.
One of the best.
And funnily enough, I've had like 3 people say like, you remind me of Oscar Isaac. I'm like, in what way? Am I a sociopath that builds sex robots? Which one?
Just take it. Just take the compliment.
Yeah, exactly. So he was directed big here. There was a notion that as part of this like sort of bombastic, large sets, lavish costumes, big, the director said to him, give me the like old school performance. And so he did. And to his credit, I don't know there's a lot of modern actors that can sell that, the big, and look, it's Victor von Frankenstein. Like, it's alive, like he's that guy. He's madness. And he literally, the whole thing is about, I was mad and crazy and what, he builds this thing and he's like, I didn't know what to do day one, So like, I think he was given the less fun role
no question.
Allow, right? Like he was if it's a comedy duo,
it's the less interesting role.
He's the straight man. Yeah. So like, and the villain in actuality, he's the villain.
Yes, 100%. So, which they, by the way, hammer home way too much.
And he's a villain, and he's a great villain. Let's be honest. He's good in Ex Machina. Like he I think he enjoys a good villain role here and there. So, now Mia Goth, my reaction was the following: there must be like 30,000 actresses waiting at the SAG commissary for a call. Mm-hmm. Surely we can find some other people. I don't get why she keeps getting cast.
Yeah. This is something we are too old to understand. You know what I mean? Like,
okay.
I just like truthfully, like this is when I see Gen Z stuff, I'm just I feel on the outs. I don't understand what they're talking about, what they're into, why they're into what they're into, and she's part of that to me.
Oh my God! The SNL made fun of Mr. Beast. They did the Beauty and Mr. Beast skit, which was pretty good. But they, at one point they're like, "No one under 25 gets him." It's like, or over 25.
Yeah.
It's like, but I don't like that because I remember being 25. The difference between me and a 25-year-old is they don't remember being my age. So I remember clearly being 25, and it's not her looks. It's not, oh, she's not pretty enough. It's not one of those shitty ass things. It's more like, I don't get her. I fundamentally, I don't feel the charisma. I mean, whatever the ineffable quality that you want in a certain actor. Like Elordi, we can give him shit all day. He's a movie star. Ding. There's one. So he's got charisma. He will get better, I imagine.
Yeah.
Isaac, we know what he's got. He's got it all. He's both an actor and a movie star, which is rare. So I don't know. She was the third part of the wheel. I mean, Christoph Waltz was wasted here. It was
it's funny too. I was like, man, what a terrible wig. Like, why do they have him wearing such a terrible wig? That was one of my first thoughts when I was watching.
There's some of that.
And at least they explained that.
Yeah.
I'll give the movie some credit.
Don't give it away, but there's a big wig reveal somewhere along the
but
line,
in the beginning, they don't like point it out that it's a wig. It just looks like a bad wig. And I'm like, man, for a movie that's really obsessed with production design, they've really like missed the boat on like his wig.
That's where they cut was the wig budget. But some fun, like other people that of course they put in was Charles Dance, always the greatest patriarchal bad guy on any film or movie. I will always film, movie, TV show, commercial. Like I'd love if he did like, eat a McNugget, why don't you? He can do anything. Really smart. As the father, as the original Victor Frankenstein Sr. Lars Mikkelsen as the captain.
Yeah, in a very good performance.
Always great.
Yeah.
And so again, I'll ask you. You read the book. This has the structure of a lot of books and of that era, which was the first 15 pages are a character in an inn or on a boat
telling their story.
I believe Heart of Darkness was told as like, let me tell you a tale that happened to me once. It's like sort of the story within a story. And so this framing, was the framing like that in the book?
It is. The only problem is that like the way it works is, I mean, this will precipitate a rant. But basically the way that the movie works in relation to the book is that the beginning of the movie is basically the beginning of the book when we talk about the ship. But then the problem is everything that occurs after the ship, like the entire backstory, the first 90 minutes of that movie is not in the book. The book starts essentially with the creature. The book starts in the act of creation of the creature.
So like on the slab, the lightning storm.
Right. So so this is the issue.
Kind of screenwriting 101. Like,
so
start at the last possible minute. Yeah.
Right. So one of the big issues here is the book makes it pretty clear that Victor Frankenstein is the monster. And for some reason, Del Toro didn't think it was clear enough. And he decided to add 90 minutes of supporting details to that theory. That's the first problem. The second problem is you can read a lot of metaphor and allegory out of the story. My British history professor thought the book was actually about industrialization, that the creature represented British industrialization, and that the mob and its rejection of the creature represents rural England. However, if we take
the Luddites.
Right. If we take the book more literally, it's about how loneliness, rejection, and a needing for acceptance can create incel-style violent people. And in the novel, the
presidential candidates.
Right.
Continue.
Yeah, I know. In the novel, the creature's a murderer. He murders people to get to Victor Frankenstein. He did in the movie. No, but in the book, he's actively killing them to provoke Victor, and in the movie he's not. So what they do in the movie is that every murder that occurs from the creature is either in self-defense,
or retribution.
So
yes.
I have to spoil it a little bit, guys. So watch this movie before you listen to this. But the creature murders Victor's wife on their wedding night. He does it to get to Victor.
The brother.
No. In the novel, he murders,
it's his wife.
Yes, in the novel, he murders the brother to get to Victor, and then he murders the wife to get to Victor. He murders Victor's wife, and in this, Victor shoots his own wife and frames the creature. There's the recurring thing over. I mean, that's not spoiling much. There's a continuing theme where they have confrontation. Victor, the actor Oscar Isaac character, kills or hurts someone. Right. Then witnesses show up. Yeah. And he immediately goes, "The creature did it." Right. So they turn the creature into a saint. What his hypothesis is that lonely, rejected people are gentle, misunderstood creatures. When that is not the point of Mary Shelley's book. She is saying that rejection, isolation create monsters. So I just cannot believe that a person, Del Toro, who is this devoted to the novel apparently from a young age, could so fundamentally...
I don't know that he's... I'd love to hear the quote. My understanding is he's a film fanatic and that he owns a lot of the original like electro gadgets and the props. No, I mean, for real. Apparently he's got like a house just filled with these like curios. And he'll periodically trot them out for museum level.
So apparently
exhibits.
It's true though. So I was actually having a conversation with a good friend of mine about this, and my friend was like, he reveres Mary Shelley. So I did a deep dive, and there actually are quotes of him just like totally like in adoration of her, which makes his misunderstanding of the material all the more stunning. One thing I do want to say is that I want to give him some credit. I think where Del Toro works really well is things like Blade 2 and Hellboy. Especially Hellboy 2. I think his touch works really well.
The Golden Army?
Yeah, I think his touch works really well when it's like something that needs flavor that could otherwise be flavorless, right? Like a studio big budget thing.
Yeah,
you get Del Toro.
Like you mean a soulless sequel?
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree with
that stuff.
And what do you think of The Shape of Wetness or whatever it's called?
The Shape of Water. The Shape of Wetness is its pornography counterpart. I don't like it. The
Shape of Moist.
Yeah, I don't like it.
The Shave of Moist.
I think all his movies are homework. I really do. The ones that he makes for his own amusement, I find them to be homework, just like you said.
So there's a thing. I mean, I give me a second to give him another example, but there is a thing like that where there's a filmmaker who's talented, but it's the thing. It's kind of like the limitation story, right? Like when you give a filmmaker everything they want, it comes out like this.
Yes.
When you give a filmmaker some things and they're forced to improvise to solve the shortfalls in a creative and improvisational manner, some kind of genius emerges, right? And people said that about the original Star Wars. They're like, look at Star Wars and then look at Phantom Menace. George got everything he wanted in one of them. And I don't know. I mean, maybe there's something to it. And also the notion that a filmmaker left to do their dream projects, however big or small budget, material wise, there is something interesting about what you said, which is they're the grated pepper on the mediocre meal. Like somehow they elevate a cheeseburger but don't have the chef special.
Yeah. And again, I think there's just something, it's funny. We were talking about directors, and I think you're sort of more on the side of a good friend of mine who loves film like us. I am attracted to the Sidney Lumet style of director. I like the guy who would refuse to call himself an artist. The guy who's like, oh, it's just a craft. I'm just working, working projects here, right? Whose style is almost a lack thereof.
Yeah, it's invisible.
Yeah, I sort of find it cringy when I see so much of the director as to make me wonder, do they care about the source material itself or even the story? I'm such a devotee of stories at the end of the day. I think, in my opinion, that Francis Ford Coppola had the greatest 5-year run in the history of movies. I just think that from Godfather 1, Godfather 2, Conversation, and Apocalypse Now, in such a condensed period of time, is such an unbelievable period of brilliance. But if you ever listen to Coppola talk about movies, it makes me want to cringe so hard. Like, he's such a romantic about storytelling and film. And I think that his most recent movie, Megalopolis is everything I hate in a movie. It is just pure ego. The story be damned. This is my vision. I'm all over this. I'm in every frame. And I think it just offends a sensibility of mine. It doesn't mean I'm right or wrong. It's just the Del Toro style of filmmaking is not for me. And especially when he takes something that not only I revere and he reveres, but is revered worldwide. I mean, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein is a classic for a reason. It is truly a masterpiece of the human condition. And he just, pun intended, I guess, butchers it. He just butchers it to pieces. It's really, but I think there is a greater discussion to be had about directors. And when you give them this sort of unlimited budget and freedom, what will they do with it? And, sometimes limitations can be a great thing because they box you in and they make you think creatively and they keep you from stepping on your own toes.
I think in the coming days of the Frankenstein machine that can make movies, when you type in a prompt,
okay,
subjectivity of the artist will become more important, not less.
Yeah, this is gonna be a bad take on my part in 10 years, isn't it?
Somebody once said, like, why did Picasso switch from photorealism to, subjective sort of cubism and various sort of bizarrities of vision, right? And the answer was it was conscious. He saw photography becoming ubiquitous. A technology arose that was going to put him out of a job. So he decided to do something that a photograph couldn't do, which is reality via subjective humanity. So I like when I see a director in a film, and this is a common refrain that you're bringing up, and you're not wrong, but I can see an action movie about a guy who drives a car for a living, and then I watch Drive. Drive is a very directed movie. There's that movie, you feel the director on every frame. I don't really care for the Met. I don't care for the non-style style. I like style. No, and look, I'll give you an example. You walk through a museum, right? Mm-hmm. And you want style, right?
Yeah,
you're there for style.
Yeah.
We in our pocket, we can look at photos of anything you want. And now you can create a fake photo of anything you haven't seen. But still, I want to go look at Edward Hopper's Nighthawks with my own eyes.
Yeah.
Or Surratt's, Afternoon in the Park with George, or pointillism. That's not reality, but it's kind of close.
Yeah.
And it's sort of a reality that we kind of get, but kind of don't. So there's a novelty to it.
Yeah.
And even like, who was the painter that lost his ability to paint? So he started cutting out shapes. It's like I think humans want to see the human hand in art.
Yeah.
Some are heavier than others for sure. And this one was heavy.
Yeah.
The problem is, so here's what happens. The fine line is you want to see the ghost in the machine, but if it's not a good product, you resent them for it.
Yeah, for sure.
But if you like the film, you're like, yeah, that's right. That's exactly what I want,
Yeah, totally.
I mean, there's a heist movie and then there's Heat. but that's a Michael Mann movie. Like his themes are all over it. His eye is all over it. His thing is all over it. His mise en scène, and it works.
Yeah.
But then you'll see another like this, and you'll go, this guy, you know. I was just struck with like, well, Inarritu is a great filmmaker. Why don't we see more of him? He stays quiet, makes a few films, and goes back to his cave. So there's an issue where I resent this guy because I'm like, stop doing interviews where you're like selling yourself as the brand name of the director of our time.
Okay.
I have yet to name a film where I'm like, yeah, if I could just direct that film, I could die tomorrow and be like, okay, I made it.
Yeah.
But
Totally.
there's not one thing that he's made that I was ever like, this man deserves a $500 million Netflix deal. Get me Ted Sarandos on the horn.
Yeah. He just feels like King of the Virgins. I don't know. I'm not trying to I'm certainly
no, but by the way,
any, measure.
I think that's a great way to put it. And I think when you said that the theme of the book was one thing,
yeah,
and his theme was another, that's where he put himself in.
Yeah.
He was, I mean, look, maybe he was a golden god and then he discovered cheeseburgers, but I don't think he was an attractive fellow his whole life.
Right.
That's my guess.
Yeah.
No slight against him. But that left him with I'm an outsider. I'm going to collect things. I'm going to draw things. I'm going to have an introspective life. I'm not going to meet the girl when I'm, 15, whatever. And the theme of, the monster, quote unquote, because he never had a name, right? In the book, did they give this creature a name?
No, he's just the creature.
Yeah. So
they don't even describe how he looks.
Yeah, that's a whole nother thing. That's the Twilight effect, right? In
the book is beautiful in its simplicity.
So in the book Twilight, they describe the beautiful vampire for like 400 pages. The narrator, you never see what she looks like. Right. She never describes herself, right? So there's something to that.
And they got someone aptly playing to play that role.
Exactly.
Kristen
she
Stewart
was
is a
relatable,
monotone.
right? But she's a relatable. She's like Tintin, right? Tintin has no eyes because we put ourselves into the character. She's our eyes. She's our avatar for the story, right? And so so Del Toro, he wants the theme to be, someone who is unloved and unrequited and unacknowledged their whole lives, rather than be twisted into the villain and a monster by their loneliness and their isolation, it actually makes them a saint. So you could say that's where Del Toro put himself. You would think a director would say, oh, I'm Victor Frankenstein. I'm making the thing. I'm using electricity, right, to inject life into something that is lifeless. But he didn't put his heart there. He put his heart with the monster. The monster isn't mean. The monster didn't kill 17 Danish sailors to get to kill this other guy. The monster's just an emo, lovely, sweet guy.
Yeah. I mean, I totally agree. And it's like Del Toro thinks of himself as the creature who may look ugly outwardly, but in fact,
a heart of gold.
Yeah, heart of gold, handsome on the inside. He is in fact Victor. He doesn't know it.
Yes, that's the joke.
I was saying how like sometimes you can cherish something too much, you can relate to it too much, like a work of art, and you can think it directly applies to you, and it doesn't, and you can feel too strong a connection with a piece of work or a piece of art where you're like, I'm the person that this is really talking about, and I was born to adapt this. And
no one can do it as well as me, even though it's been done 17 times.
I think that's an ego trip. I think it's a mistake. And I'm curious to see how the public will react to this movie. I'm already sort of seeing some headlines like it's a masterpiece, and I don't know how annoyed am I going to be for the next 3 to 4 months as this movie potentially picks up steam. I don't know. It'll it'll be one of these things where I'll lose my faith a little bit in humanity.
Let's not be a broken record, but I think we are trying to figure out some sort of like new model of what these films are. We, you know, you and I made a decision. I don't know if it was laziness, economics, or whatever, but we're like, I don't want to go to the movie theater to see that stupid boxing movie with Sydney Sweeney, right?
Right.
So we have been talking about these streamer premieres that aren't theatrical, but yet they're not TV movies. So I don't know that this film would fly on 3,000 screens.
And in fact,
I don't think they'd pull the budget. They'd pull the audience in.
Sometimes you have to see a movie on a small screen on your television to know how bad it is. A big screen can
no, this would have been a feast for the eyes.
Yeah, on a big screen.
By the way, I like the effects. I like the digital. I like the tower sequence. You know, like the visuals, just the pure like sensory overload. I mean, he's great at that. Like the burning of the thing, and I thought that was all technically really good. You know, I was at a film festival last night. They were giving the awards, and somebody said Hitchcock said you need 3 things to make a good film: script, script, script. And I think this is the weak link of this film.
And that's modern movies in general, by the way.
I think it's all movies since day one, and that's the thing, is it hasn't changed. But you know, the one other thing we wanted to talk about in terms of this and other films like House of Dynamite, like some of the films we've been talking about, you know, there's a point in time when the culture has a front page, and it literally used to be a front page, right? It was the New York Times. The front page of the New York Times would tell us as a country or a culture, the Western civilization, whatever, like this is what's to be talked about. They even themselves, they say all the news that's fit to print. Well, I think most educated people know that the Times is not that. It's compromised. It's flawed. It's not that. Then it was the AOL front page, right?
Yeah.
That's where everybody gathered. What's going on there, right? Maybe the front page of YouTube, whatever. Clearly the front page of culture right now is the landing page of Netflix. This is where we all go. We may all have 1 or 2 or 3 streamers amongst us, or shared amongst us, or whatever the way you access media now. But Netflix is the clear winner if you look at the data. So that's where we're going. And I don't know if it's because they were first. I don't know if it's because of the red color like McDonald's. I don't know what it is, but they're that right now. And this is what they're choosing to put forth as their decision as the best that money can buy for Western culture. And I find it lacking.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I was sort of impressed by Netflix when they decided they were going to launch their movie streaming, like original content, with something like Roma. And Roma's not even a movie I like, but I was impressed.
Roma?
Roma. Remember Roma?
You said Aroma.
Oh,
yes,
sorry.
that's what they launched with.
I don't even like that movie, but I'm impressed by that type of swing.
It was, yes. I mean, I think inside there's a little bit of artists. There's a little bit of wanting to impress and get an Oscar and make some art. You know, Irishman's a good example. I don't know why it disconnects. I think it's just hard to make movies. I think it's hard to make a masterpiece. I respect that they're trying.
Yeah.
But would you say K-pop Demon Hunter was closer to the bullseye than this one?
I'll tell you what I think, and there's a lot of Netflix original content at this point. There's more Netflix original content on Netflix than you know, like movies from other studios. What I will say is that for me, the closest I can think of to a real bona fide film that I like is Power of the Dog. I don't think Power of the Dog is perfect. But it's the one with Benedict Cumberbatch.
I know what it is, and I'm like, odd choice. I would have said Ghost Dog, Way of the Samurai.
But they didn't make that.
I know, but I'm just saying Power of the Dog.
I'm just talking about the movies Netflix has made, the ones that they have financed and released on Netflix. What would you choose? A Netflix original film, right? That you think for you is sort of the closest to like their best.
Well,
outing.
let's be honest. They slap original on a lot of acquisitions. You know that,
That's
right?
fair. And Power of the Dog may be an acquisition as well.
I think it was.
Yeah, I don't know.
So
That's a good point.
at this film festival last night, I was talking to somebody, and I just said earlier, I'm not going to shit on people for bad numbers, but we had watched Smashing Machine, you and I, and didn't love it. And so then on the heels of that, Sydney Sweeney decides to be an obscure boxer, another A-lister, like, hey, I'm going to do an indie about this, fighting person. And it's not doing well at all, like legendarily not good.
Okay.
So I don't know if that's a brand misfire, like she should just wear jeans and wear bikinis and be in rom-coms. I don't know if it's that. You could say, well, Charlize did a lot of sort of glamorous stuff before she did Monster.
Yeah.
Right. So but my friend had a good point. He goes, wait. That's not entirely accurate. There's always a built-in audience for a serial killer movie. And I'm like, you're right. And there's not always a built-in audience movie for small indie boxing movies, although you could say Rocky once made a ton of movie, but Rocky's Rocky and they're not all Rocky.
Yeah.
And that's not Rocky, and Smashing Machine was not Rocky. So
Smashing Machine would have been better if it tried to be Rocky, actually.
Smashing Machine would be better with Sylvester Stallone in it, right? I'd watch that.
That's a good point.
So talk about charisma. He's got more charisma than The Rock. But
ooh, I don't know if I can go there, brother. I watched a lot of The Rock in WWF. That man was oozing charisma.
Fair enough. But it's a weird time. What Netflix did is they went in because we were lamenting. We were at this very small regional festival. It's called I forget what it was called. It doesn't matter. But it's a local thing, and he was lamenting like, oh, this Sundance is the last Sundance in Park City. I don't know if you know this. Every January for 30 years, there was a Sundance in Park City, Utah. This one is the last, coming up January, and then they're moving to like Boulder, Colorado or something. I mean, they're moving it, but and that was before Redford died. Okay. So it wasn't like, oh, Papa's no longer here. Let's just whatever, give it up. And it's like the end of something. Right. And what I said was, I think the beginning of the end is when Netflix went into festivals that had an ecosystem where a series of small indie distributors like Sony Pictures Classics, I mean, they're not throwing money around. And, hey, I'll give you $2 million against your 1.7 movie or whatever, right? And they were like, okay, what's everybody buying? What do you guys want? And they'll be like, oh, well, this is the hot movie this year. There's a bidding war. Company X wants to spend $3 million. Company 4 is looking at 3.5. They'll be like, here's 20. Give me. And so the next year, half those companies went out of business. The other half were too intimidated. The other half were outspent by Netflix. 3 years later, there was no independent film market. There was no indie film festivals. They completely nuked the whole thing. And then they got bored with it and they don't go anymore.
Yeah. Something I'll say for Ted Sarandos is that I appreciate that he has confidence in his taste. I like that he doesn't seem to be driven too much by public reaction to whatever he's putting out. I think he has proven this in the stand-up comedy market.
Because he's friends with Dave Chappelle? That makes him like a paragon of virtue?
he just seems to be driven by his own taste. I just don't love his taste. But
correct.
I appreciate that he puts out like,
he's not cowed like say Disney.
Yeah, like if I had billions of dollars, I'd be producing movies. I would be paying people I think are good directors and screenwriters to make movies. And I think that's what he's doing in large part. I just don't love his taste in the projects he is putting forth. And I'm excited for the day when something that appeals to me, like The Brutalist, which was my favorite movie of last year. I'm excited for when something like not for you either. We're really not on the same page today.
I'll tell you when I finish it.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
I tried. I
Yeah.
don't get it. And I should. Like,
Yeah.
I'm the poster boy, right?
Mhm.
I hear the trials, and the director's like, I couldn't eat. I couldn't pay my bills while I was making my big movie. And it's
Mhm.
like, go get him, champ.
Yeah.
So I tuned in and I tuned out. And I was on a plane, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
You
Well, that
know?
first of all is a terrible way to watch The
Like,
Brutalist.
I'm
You don't want to watch The
I'm a
Brutalist on a
captured
plane.
audience.
Yeah. But that movie should be seen on a big screen. It's worthy of it. I mean, look, it's definitely The Brutalist. I was actually going to bring it up earlier. The Brutalist is no different than Frankenstein. It's just that I feel like he succeeds, so I clap for him. You know what I mean?
But that's what I mean. That's what
Right.
I was saying.
Yeah, absolutely.
When it's absolutely directed, and there's no doubt, and it was directed, I'll give him that. Like, it
Mm-hmm.
was a subjective vision. It was not a
correct.
workman technical craft. Like, it
Yeah.
was a made film by a director with a vision.
Yeah.
And when it turns out, 4 stars, tour de force. And when it's not, you're like, this guy with his self-indulgent, tracking
Mhm.
shots or whatever. You can always ding him. And that's the problem with reaching, right?
Yeah.
When you reach, when you dive for the ball, that if you miss it, you're going to get a face full of wall. Or if you're a dancer, you're going to go for that big leap. And if you land wrong, your career's over because you broke your, ACL or whatever.
Yeah.
There's something to be said about swing for the fences. You don't get up to bat a lot.
Right.
Swing for the fences. I will always applaud that. I just can't not applaud that,
I think that is a great thing to put on your tombstone. I think honestly that's a wonderful motto to have, which is like, if you get your shot, swing for the fences.
Put everything. Nobody wants a casual artist.
Yeah.
Everybody wants a tortured, overclocked, overstimulated.
Mm-hmm.
I was even talking to one of these guys at this film festival, and I said, in our business, if you don't look the part, like, I met a writer,
Mm-hmm.
and he looked like a writer,
Mm-hmm.
had tennis shoes on, had sort of like tousled hair, he had glasses, you could just tell from 1,000 yards.
Mm-hmm.
And you realize that people want you to look the part of the thing that you're doing in our business. So, like, I remember reading an interview with Brian Grazer, and he said, I'll never hire a director that's better dressed than me, or like more like put together in person. I want them to be like askew in real life because they're complete on film.
I don't know what Brian Glazer looks the part of, because he looks wild.
Well, I'll tell you what he is.
Yeah,
He's
tell me,
short and not attractive,
and
no
with
offense.
crazy hair.
But the crazy hair is the affectation, right?
Oh, okay.
That's the branding. Okay. Tim Burton, he's got branding. He brands himself a director. You could say Del Toro maybe kind of looks like a director, but that's the thing. Like, stay in your lane.
We should bring that up for a second. We should actually talk about that. Are Del Toro and Eggers, are they the children of Tim Burton? Or is Tim Burton just the child of someone else, and it's just a long line of these types of guys?
No, he's too whimsical. Or rather, he's whimsical. They're not whimsical.
Yeah, that's fair. Totally.
Like, I was taken by the amount of blood and gore in this movie. He went there in terms of viscera and like, hey, he's cutting up bodies. Like, here's some blood and guts. So Tim Burton wouldn't show the blood and guts.
Mm-hmm.
There's some aspects of sort of the, not to use brutalist in the right context, but the brutalism of the architecture and the high ceilings and the like detailed sets. I mean, yes, that's kind of the expressionism that they all kind of draw from a little bit. But Eggers, yeah, I mean, there's a wisp, like the Gothic elements,
right?
But not really. He had a sense of look. I'm not a giant Burton fan, but he's totally original in the sense that he's almost like the guy who invented the Addams Family, that artist, where there's an aspect of absolute black humor, death, ghosts, goblins, whatever, and lightness and humor.
Yeah.
That's his thing. I'm right in the middle of that. Del Toro, you don't have so much whimsy. You know, there's a lot more sadness. There's a lot more tragedy involved.
Yes.
I know he's obsessed with like the Spanish Civil War and like really heavy subject matter. Eggers is really just more of like a classic Gothic guy,
Yes.
you know?
Correct. Absolutely.
He doesn't want to really stray too far from that catechism, I think.
Yeah, I think
which we like. I think it's good to have like a formalist guy like that.
Yeah.
I agree with you. It would have been a lot of fun to see them flip the roles, because when you're talking about Dracula, it was a monochromatic Dracula, almost because he was like doing the Nosferatu thing.
I mean, he was doing Nosferatu, which is foolish because Nosferatu,
like the black and white film,
Nosferatu
like why
was just an attempt to get around copyright law. That's why it exists. It wasn't like, it's not an original vision. It was just a German filmmaker needing to make Dracula without paying the estate of Bram Stoker. So there's no need to.
They got the ship, they got the thing, and so. That what was fascinating to me about this Frankenstein is they had the old man, and I couldn't help thinking about Gene Hackman with the wait, I made espresso. Like, you know, we have to acknowledge young Frankenstein.
Yeah, absolutely.
This. And young Frankenstein is a better version of Frankenstein than this was.
Oh, no question. And we can actually, we can end it there. That is that's a great place to leave it. Alex, thanks again. This is the this is the How I Got Greenlit podcast.
This is why I hate movies.
Yeah, no. I love movies. Every once in a while, I get really ticked off by a movie, and I apologize in advance to anyone that loves this movie.
I think. Look, what do they say? The opposite of love is not hate; it's indifference.
It's something like that.
Yeah,
we'll Google that later.
No, but if you hate something, it means that. I mean, for me, when I hate a movie, I get angry at what could have been.
Yeah, I think I feel the same way. In fact, I wanted this to be good. I really did.
We went in like with high expectations, great cast, great, director knows what he's doing. They got a lot of money. Like, oh wow, and it just didn't.
Totally
bring together.
All right, guys, tune in next week.
Yeah,
and apologies once again to the estate of Robert Redford. Maybe next week. Later, Alex.
Bye.